it's award season, slash has already been award season, and that means we have lots and lots of opinions, none of which many of us asked for, and many of which are so out of depth that I felt the need to make an entire video on it. Grammys has been a staple in award show television for longer than I have been alive. It's known to be the most prestigious awards for musicians and all music-related IPs, and has gained a rather large reputation as one of the biggest award shows during award season, if you will. The Grammys has all eyes on it all year, and it has gained a reputation. See, the Grammys has often been known to snub artists and or not give true awards, many citing the award show as bias, and even some people believing that some artists have paid to receive their Grammys beforehand. This has caused the Grammys to fall out of public favor and general public perception as a whole, and even someone like myself who loves watching award shows found themselves sitting out of it this year due to the often disappointment I feel when watching this specific award show. Often we root for our favorite artists, knowing the work they have put into their body of art and having a parasocial connection to that very body of art in which we love so much. That we thrive on seeing our own artists who we have this parasocial bond with succeed. We want to see them be successful. I, as well as many, have created this parasocial connection, and it has made the Grammys become very watered down and not fun, if you will, to see the Grammys let us down time and time again, as we are not the judges. As it started to feel like the judges weren't basing their opinions and decisions on the art behind the music, and rather external factors such as charts and personal biases towards artists. There began to be a theme that artists were favored by the Grammys, and that there were Grammy babies, if you will, and that these artists were, if they were in a category, they would most likely win it no matter what, and it kind of sucked if you had an artist nominated in that very category, but knew that they had no chance because a Grammy baby was in there. But that makes this year's Grammys way more motivational and inspiring to see, as it finally felt like the Grammys were celebrating the music industry and what it's supposed to be about. Art. This year's Grammys was self-reportedly dedicated to righting wrongs of previous years and biases that we have seen throughout the years, and even members of the Academy who voted for the artists who were up for awards this year have admitted that the theme of this year's Grammys was innovation. And boy, did the winners of this year show that to be the case. It was innovative. The Grammys finally feel like they were rewarding culture, which is one of the most important parts of music and something that we need to shed light on during such tumultuous times. Now more than ever, we need these wins. We need culture to come out on top. I say all this, and somehow I am astounded at the amount of people who claim the Grammys this year were the worst Grammys in recent times. I don't know if we watched the exact same award show, but I'd like to throw my 2 cents into why I think this is one of the best Grammys and best years of the Grammys, if you will, and how we should be uplifting art and culture, something that the Grammys successfully did this year for once. On the theme of innovation, we see some new artists receive some astounding awards, or so we thought at least. The beauty behind the newer generation of artists that we saw celebrated this time around in the Grammys is that none of them were actually truly new artists, nor are they a part of a new generation of artists, at least not in the traditional sense. From Doechii to Sabrina Carpenter being 2 artists who have limited commercial success, to Charli XCX being someone who has dominated the charts but has yet to achieve much success in the award show circuits, to Chappell Roan being someone who has been in the industry working for years and just finally blew up late into her career. All of these artists are new to getting the level of recognition they've received, but they're not new to the actual game of creating art by any means, nor are they new to the industry. More importantly, all of these artists deserve these awards for a multitude of reasons. Doechii has blown up in the rap game, being one of the most influential rappers this year with her debut Alligator Bites Never Heal. You could not listen to a rap song without Doechii, and you could not be in the rap genre without hearing her either. Not only blew up this year, but she also left her mark, featuring or taking part in some of the biggest rap pieces of 2024, proving her staying power. She also paid special attention to things like her look and appearance, and truly embodying what it means to have a cohesive album. From more than just the music and the sound, to the aesthetic, to everything was planned perfectly by Doechii, and she certainly got rewarded for such hard work going into it. She wasn't given the best performances of the night of the Grammys for no reason, and Doechii has been given so many accolades and so many credits from many artists in her space, even Kendrick Lamar shouting her out as one of the best rappers in the game, and it's all been for good reason. This has been Doechii's year. Finally, she gets credit, not just credit, but she also gets credit for an award that was not often given to women, and her being the third woman ever to have obtained that award in Grammys history. Sabrina Carpenter finally got her mainstream debut after her pipeline of Disney Channel actress, and she took the radio by storm. In a similar way to Doechii having such a cohesive sound and look, Sabrina was everywhere in mainstream media this year, from the Juno poses to her scandalous concert, from her nonsense outros to her every move. It felt like we couldn't escape Sabrina. Although it goes against the original statement that the Grammys should be about the art and not popularity, there is an art to becoming mainstream and being such a massive power in media. She may not have made a cultural album, but she certainly has and will have impact on the culture, and she should be given flowers for that, which she was. Charli XCX has spent years hitting mainstream success pretty consistently, yet never really being able to make the rounds in the award circuits, regardless of how transformative and influential her music has been or will be. This makes it even better to see her win awards for an album that, comparatively to her traditional pop sound, and the pop sound as a whole that is, takes a drastically more experimental approach both in lyricism and sounds. Brat was an album meant to be deconstructive and leaning into the subsection of music that often gets overlooked by the general populace and audience. Brat was unique in its approach and really meant to tear down what we consider music and an album. And that's not even to mention Charli XCX's long tenure she has in the music industry and how often overlooked she has historically taken in her career, regardless of how successful her albums or body of works are. Charli XCX is not new to being overlooked by the media, or by the Grammys, that is. Charli has always been on top, and the Grammys just finally decided to acknowledge that, finally. Then there's Chappell Roan, one of our only true examples of a new generation of artists. Chappell has been creating music for years, so by no means is she new to the game of music or art creation. However, she is new to fame. However, she has not let herself get walked over instead of this fame. Quite the opposite. Chappell has shown us time and time again that she won't forget who she is and what she stands for, and rather will go against the industry herself if needed. She truly is your favorite artist, as she even chose to make her speech about her success to instead be about the unfair treatment of the average artist. She not only has had a remarkable year, but she has already made a name for herself in that she's an artist first and famous second. She represents the next generation of artists will look like, and regardless of how long she's been in the game for, she finally gets to be successful. Something that this Grammy seems to be very in tune into rewarding this year. Artists who have been working at it and have been creating art finally getting their owed, which leads us into our next category. Kendrick Lamar and Beyonce have been known to be generational artists. Kendrick is known for his lyricism and masterclass of rap albums, tending to always be seen highly by critics and viewers alike. Beyonce is one of, if not the most famous people alive, with bodies of work that have changed the industry time and time again. Yet both of these artists have a history of being snubbed at the Grammys, and this year the Grammys aim to right those wrongs of their tumultuous past and finally give credit to these artists. Kendrick taking home 5 Grammys for Not Like Us, and Beyonce winning her first ever album of the year, being nominated for it with almost every body of work she has ever released. This is the part where I tell you how historically Beyonce has been robbed at the Grammys, specifically for this award. Beyonce's music is the definition of music, as all her work is transformative and industry changing. She takes her craft seriously and crafts beautiful storylines in all of her music that is rooted in culture, specifically Black American culture, which is often an overlooked culture, and that's important. Cowboy Carter's win represents many things, but many of which being this is not the first and only album Beyonce should have won this award for, and rather is one of the many that deserves this spot. I won't lie, there is a fair argument that Lemonade is her highest deserving album to be running into this award and to be taking this award. But don't mistake that idea as Cowboy Carter not deserving it. Cowboy Carter takes a genre that has been cemented in stagnation and gives it a new spin. She innovates on country and the sound specifically, what it means to be in a genre, and how all genres are just labels and nothing really more. Cowboy Carter is entirely dedicated to defying standards set on us and representing what it means to create genre-defying music. Beyonce doesn't just create music, she creates fine art in the way that she uses culture as a tool to further inform the narrative of and the listeners, using not just her own experiences, but shared experiences of a group of people often overlooked and underrepresented, and she gives those people a voice. She's done it in all genres she's dabbled in, but finally gave back country to Black and queer people, a genre that has historically isolated those people from that very genre. Beyonce's win is not just justified, but necessary if the Grammys truly mean that they aim to reform and right their previous wrongs. Beyonce's album is all about culture and redefining culture and giving back a narrative, something that the Grammys says they're working towards, and I believe them. Finally, I want to talk about the reaction to the Grammys this year. With it being one of the best years in my opinion, there are bound to be people that disagree, but I can't help but notice very clear and blatant bias in these people may have in regard to the Grammys. Many of the arguments around Billie Eilish and Taylor Swift and even Ariana Grande have been revolving around Album of the Year, so I will be focusing mainly on that award in this category. Many argue that Cowboy Carter did not get the streams to be awarded such a prestigious award, but you forget streams is not the only signifier in garnering an award. And I'd wager it's not even close to being the most considered factor when giving out this award, at least specifically not for this year. I would wager they rather focused on the impact and cultural relevance in which Cowboy Carter beats both Hit Me Hard and Soft as well as Tortured Poets Department. It's not to say that these albums aren't good. Billie Eilish's album was actually my most streamed album of 2024. But I also understand that the album means so much more to me as personal consideration and my personal bias. Hit Me Hard and Soft and Tortured Poets Department may both be great bodies of work, but they are not culturally impactful, nor are they nearly as relevant as Cowboy Carter or even what it's rumored to be runner-up Brat. They are not nearly as relevant or impactful as these albums, and rather that is the important part of awarding Album of the Year. I've gone at lengths discussing how Cowboy Carter reclaims country and innovates on a genre which in its own merit would justify giving this award to Cowboy Carter. But if the rumors are true that Brat is second place to Album of the Year, it further proves that Cowboy Carter deserved this win. This Grammys had an entire theme of innovation and impact, which Brat and Cowboy Carter both had much more impact and innovation on the music industry, where there really wasn't that much innovation or impactfulness for the industry standards with Hit Me Hard and Soft or Tortured Poets Department. These albums stayed safe in the wheelhouse of their artists. They really weren't something astounding and new, and rather played to the artist's strength. This isn't even a bad thing. However, it is the truth that this was a Billie Eilish album, and this was just a Taylor Swift album at their cores. And narratively, there was not an astounding message or deeper meaning beyond personal storytelling of these albums. Cowboy Carter redefined a genre and will go on to have true impact on the industry for years to come. Just look at the artists that it uplifted just by being on the album, and how we can already see country changing with the likes of people like Shabuzi having such an uplifted and stance now in the country scene. This is also not to mention that Billie and Taylor don't entirely need more Grammys, especially during a year of change and innovation, where both artists stayed very safe and comfortable in their lane. It made no sense to reward them more than any other year, where they have previously left their comfort and their traditional genres. Both of these artists are seasoned veterans at this point, with enough Grammys for previous works and a history of not being snubbed or underappreciated, and quite the opposite, being Grammy babies, if you will. They have fallen into the category of Grammy darlings, and I think it's okay to not celebrate them for 1 year. This isn't even to take away from the success that they have had this year, but rather to point out why the Grammys choice makes sense. I've also argued that they haven't heard anything on Cowboy Carter, but that yet again speaks more on you than it does the actual album itself. The album has been out, so you could have actively chosen to listen to it. For example, I haven't heard a single thing from Taylor Swift's album this year, but that doesn't mean I can't acknowledge the success the album has had. Finally, I want to address the lack of anger in which we see towards other nominees and how it's a bit concerning that the only thing that we're mad at getting snubbed and being widely discussed is an award won by a black woman. I will say, I think more of this has to do with how used to we're seeing Billie Eilish and Taylor Swift win, and how it's not a very common thing for Billie Eilish and Taylor Swift fans to see their favorite artists lose. Simply put, Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish fans were just too passionate about people they don't even know, but it definitely looks very suspicious that the award that has gotten the most criticism is the one that a black woman won. There are many other awards that Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish got nominated for that we haven't really batted an eye about or made nearly as much as a fuss about, that we could also have had our pitchforks out for, but seemingly we don't. That's mainly to make you look inwards and be a little bit more introspective. It's not saying that every Billie Eilish or Taylor Swift fan that thinks that Billie Eilish and Taylor Swift should have won Album of the Year is racist. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I am trying to say is address your biases before you get your pitchforks out. Finally, I want to add that it's not that deep. There have been some insane things said about Beyonce winning Album of the Year, including but not limited to, this is worse than a fascist being elected as president, as to one of the strongest countries in the world. And to those people, I say, why do you care so much? Billie Eilish doesn't know you. And if you actually paid attention to the awards, you would see that everyone was happy for Beyonce. Those were tears of joy, not remorse, because those people, her peers, have seen her hard work and dedication and have all breathed a breath of joy when she finally got rewarded after such a long historical wronging and snubbing of Beyonce at the Grammys. These artists are truly her peers. They know what it's like to be at these award shows and to be wronged by awards and to get snubbed by these awards. They know the long history, and those were all people celebrating for Beyonce, not mad at her or upset that they didn't win. You can't be mad for these people. You can't be mad for people who aren't mad for themselves. I mean, I can't stop you from being mad in place of Billie Eilish and Taylor Swift, but I can point out how foolish you look compared to how happy they look. They are rather intelligent on their own. However, a large group of people leads to mob mentality and can create panic. We are rational up until we are challenged, and we can become challenged in many ways, including feeling as though our artists deserved a win. But the important thing to remember is we are not the judges or deciders of who gets these awards. Hell, we don't even have access to them or get to be in the same room as these awards. Rather, we are spectators. We indulge in the art, and sometimes that makes us think that we are superior judges to the people who actually do get to decide what is awarded or not. As I said, the Grammys has not always been the most agreeable award show. It has a history for a reason, but this year, the Grammys set out to right those wrongs, and I'd say they did, at least to a palpable degree. And if you disagree with that, that's fine, but we must remember we are not the artists or the critics. We are the spectators. And you can be upset, you can be sad, angry, and any wave of emotion you want to about your faves not winning while not taking away from those who did win. You don't have to pin artists against one another, and we can disagree with the decision or opinion without bringing others down. Sometimes our true opinions don't need to be expressed, and rather we can keep our thoughts to ourselves. I know in this modern day of the internet where everyone just says whatever they want, whenever they want, that is a rather alien concept, but you can. That is the point of free will, after all, deciding what should or shouldn't be said. And at the end of the day, remember, Billie Eilish or Taylor Swift winning Album of the Year doesn't affect your life realistically, nor does Beyonce winning or any other person winning or losing these awards. It's fun to take part in award culture, but remember to not overindulge and get too wrapped up in something that really doesn't affect you. Finally, I would recommend being more conscious of what we say online and our hot takes, because sometimes you need to get the fuck out of the kitchen. As an award being lost cannot and should not be compared to the rise of a fascist. Ever. I have been Enigma Bazaar. And goodbye. She deserved that. Do you know how long Beyonce has fought for that? Do you know how many awards Beyonce should have won? Girl, let's not forget the Adele speech. The famous Adele speech. Now that's not that.